What do you do if even that suggested bid is not giving any impressions? That's not abnormal, unfortunately. It's not abnormal to not get impressions. And so what I would say is that raise your bids, test raising bids. A couple of reasons why this could happen as well is you might have that particular search being triggered through another one and somewhere else in your ad structure for that product. So that could be another reason why. So if, for example, if that keyword is performing in, say, a phrase match and you go and you launch an exact match, it might take a while for that impressions to start shifting over to the exact match, which is fine and expected. Okay, so you can test that. I would honestly just test like increasing the bids here. Oftentimes, even if you're using the suggested bid, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a high enough or aggressive bid. The suggested bids are a good start, but you always need to optimize from there. There are other ways to do it, right? So anything that is going to increase your conversion rates will increase your ranking. Anything that increases the amount of orders that you're getting through that specific search will increase your ranking. That's why a lot of times sellers will do these things in tandem, like say testing coupons, potentially testing lower price point if you have the margins enough to be able to do that. If there's any sort of listing optimization that you've been putting off for a while. I also just today filmed, so expect it out within the next week or so, filmed a video on how to analyze your conversion rates versus your competition. There's some stuff going over the search query performance reports, how to use those to analyze. So if you're brand registered, I would keep a lookout on the YouTube channel. That's going to be helpful as far as like analyzing how is your conversion rate versus your competition. Best combination of map types for branded, generic, and competitor keyword targets. Yeah, I'm still a huge fan of using all the above. So we use exact match, phrase match, and broad match for pretty much all targets across the board. And now it does somewhat vary depending on the account budget and then what stage we're in, because you notice when I was talking about product launches, I recommended launching specifically an exact match and sticking to that for a while. So I do think that that is applicable. What I would say is that the more aggressive you want to target something, the more specific your match type should be. And that's not because there's anything wrong with phrase match or anything wrong with broad match. Everything has their place. The difference between those is when I am aggressive in exact match, I can be 100% confident that my spend is being allocated to that specific search term. If that decrease in ad impressions means less people are seeing your product through the ads, and then the sort of cumulative, the way that the ads influence organic ranking is if the ads sales are happening through that one specific search. That's why I talk about if you're going aggressive, go an exact match so you can influence the sales velocity through that one specific search. If both the organic and the advertising combined make a greater sales velocity on that one shopper search, then you will climb up in rankings. And that is exactly and precisely the reason why a lot of people will push their advertising, they'll see their organic ranking climb, and then they'll say, oh, this is unprofitable, and they'll cut their ads, and then their ranking decreases. And they're like, what gives? It's because those ad sales through that shopper search were adding to the cumulative or total sales that you are getting through that one shopper search. And without those additional ad sales, you do not have enough sales velocity to be able to push past your competitors. Business reports will tell you the sales that happen the day that that transaction is enacted. So if I go into, if I go to Amazon as a shopper right now, I want to purchase a product, bang, done, add to cart, ship it to me, that transaction is going to show up in that seller's business report as the day that I bought the product. However, if they go into their accounting section of their reports and they look at when they actually, when that accounting records the sale, they're probably not actually going to see that transaction till maybe a day later. And the reason why is because you don't actually get paid as a seller until that product ships. And mic is mute. Now we're on mute. Okay, cool. We're back. I appreciate it. So welcome back to another Ask Junglr segment. If this is your first time joining us, we welcome you. And for those of you returning, we love you. You're awesome. So if you haven't joined here before, give you a quick recap on how this thing works is you all can drop your Amazon advertising questions into the chat. I will pull them up on screen and I will get them answered. And if you saw the intro, then you know that that's basically what I do. So we do deep dives here. We go deep, we go strategic, and we go nitty gritty, which means we've been popping open screen shares. I've been showing you resources we have available. This is the place, the time on the internet to come and get really strategic answers to your most pressing Amazon advertising questions. And we get questions all the time, like things like bids, budgets, what kind of keywords should we use? What kind of ad strategies are working right now? What kind of launch strategies are working right now? Launches are a hot button topic, and we have a new system that we developed in the end of 2024 that is working right now to launch products. And so all of that, we take it up and we serve it to you. So feel free to drop your Amazon advertising questions into the chat. If this is valuable to you, give us a like, give us a thumbs up on whatever streaming platform you are on. And with that, by the way, FYI, you've never seen me on the internet before, totally fine. I get it. My name is Elizabeth Greene. I'm one of the co-founders of an Amazon ad agency called Junglr. We've been doing this for 6 or 7 years, and what we specialize in is custom strategies that focus on 2 spheres, and these are the 2 spheres that we customize. Is one, prerequisite is you got to know Amazon ads really, really well. If you don't know Amazon ads and the whole platform, that's like baseline, but you can SOP that stuff. What you can't SOP is you need to have 2 spheres. One sphere is the category and the nuances of this specific product. But then the other sphere, and even if you get the first sphere, you miss the second one, which is the sphere of what needs to happen based on business goals, because your business goals should shape your ad strategy. And so whenever I can get context on that kind of stuff, I always try and make sure that I'm curating all of my answers to your questions based on those 2 spheres, what I'm seeing happen right now, what needs to happen in your category, and also what, if you have any context on what you want to do as a business, because the businesses that we typically work with, I'm not talking enterprise, we have some of those companies, but most of the companies we work with are founder-led brands or brands that are growing off of their own bottom line and their own cash flow. So what we find is that your ad strategy needs to factor in, you got to factor in your cash flow or your profitability, or you're going to be out of business, which is not good for anyone. So that's how we're gonna roll with it today. So if you have any questions, again, drop those into the chat. It's a first come, first serve model. So I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna have to cut the stream short. I'm literally going from this live all the way, and I'm gonna join another live directly following this. I'm gonna be talking Amazon ads live for 2 straight hours. So bear with me. I've got a 3rd cup of coffee. We're gonna get into it. And I'm really, really stoked. So here again, hello. I hope you and your family are doing well. I hope everything is great. Everything is very great on my end now. Definitely had some family development this week. Unfortunately, my grandpa passed away, which he was in hospice and he's had cancer for several years. So it was not an unexpected. But as far as family, we're all okay. But yeah, developments that personally this week, I will still probably be able to do the live next week, although I'll be traveling, but I definitely make time for the team and ads as much as I can in between stuff. All right, question here. I hope you and your family are doing well. Yeah, so personally we are. I appreciate that. How can you optimize PPC for quick, cost-effective sales when selling the last batch of a product in a high competitive, low margin market? Ooh, that is a tough one. Oh, you're gonna give me the tough ones today. I love it. Okay, so the thing that we found, Sean, is that honestly, when it comes to really quickly moving stock, let's see, cost effective when selling the last batch of a product. We have found that price tends to move product quickly than trying to go aggressive with the advertising. Now, I love the context here. This is really helpful for this question because what you want to do when it comes to a product going out, or like you're just getting rid of a product, you want to think quick, profitable sales. So if you're planning on discontinuing a product, you don't want to have any like ranking strategies, main keywords. There's all of those types of strategies that you 100% want to have if you want to think long-term with a product. If you ignore those strategies, you're going to be hurting on terms of market share very quickly within the next couple months. But when it comes to selling out things quickly, you don't have to worry about that because you're not worried about long-term ranking. So how do you approach this? I just want you to think profitable sales and traffic. I don't care where those come from. Could be my auto campaigns, could be my low bid broad campaigns. It could be my category targeting campaigns. All of those other additional campaigns. I could be running brand ads or video ads. Now, what we typically say is that for sponsored brand ads, sponsored display ads, those ones don't tend to have as much impact on ranking. So you definitely want a full funnel and a well-rounded strategy when it comes to like long-term growth of a product. But if we're talking about going out of stock, I'm not worried about long-term growth. So I just want quick, profitable traffic and sales. And so for that, you want to take a look at your ad structure and say like, where are those profitable sales coming from? If I don't have to, I'm probably not going to go through and like launch a bunch of campaigns and do tests. I just want to hone in on this is the stuff that works. I'm going to double down there with my bids. I'm going to double down there with my budgets. And then the other thing that you want to probably do is maybe throw in some pricing. I know it's a low margin market, so you maybe can't wiggle too much on the pricing, but that would be the other thing that I would think of if the goal is to just move the products. But again, typically like low bid autos and broads and things like that work really well, generally speaking. But I would test and I would just really look at your account and be like, what is working really well from a profitability standpoint for me? I'm going to double down there. Where do I get a large volume of profitable sales? Even if it's some random long tail keyword, or again, not like I'm okay with not doubling down on like my main keywords. Because again, goal is not ranking. So I can go more profitability in this case. Giselle says, hey, great to be here every Thursday. Oh, we appreciate you having you every Thursday. It's always awesome to hear when people are like rejoining and they're like, oh, this is really valuable. I highly appreciate it. So again, I'm seeing some more people join. So FYI, format of this, ask your Amazon ad questions in the chat in whatever streaming platform you are on. I'll pull them up on screen and we'll deep dive and get you some really good answers. All right. I noticed you had a live session tonight. Yep. So right after this, I'm going directly into another session, which will be really fun. With I believe it's hosted by my Amazon guy. I'm going to be there on there with their ad expert as well as Sophie Society. So we'll do a roundtable of more Amazon ad talk. Fun. My favorite subject, which is why I can talk about it for so long. All right, good context question here. So selling a high ticket winter apparel now in the second year. Facing problems this January for the same campaigns. One day they are sales, another day no sales, but clicks and almost some. What shall I check? This is a fantastic question. So here's the way I would want to think about it. Whenever you have anything that has like an up and a down and the peaks and valleys and it's really hard, the reason why it's hard to make sense with trends is because you're dealing with a low data problem. And so whenever there's a low data problem, what you need to do is you need to stretch out your timeline. So you might typically be going through and looking at like maybe last 7 days, last 14 days. I don't know what time frames you typically analyze, but you want to like stretch that out if you can to see, can I see, or if when I look at a bigger level, do I see any trends that are happening there? So that would be my first thing. The second thing you want to think of is when you're seeing those issues, you're saying one day there's some sales and one day there's not. You want to look at it from the lens of like the shopper funnel. So shopper funnel in advertising is slightly different than in just your regular shopper funnel, because in advertising you have impressions where when you're talking about like business reports data, you don't really have like an impression piece of the funnel. So what you're going to think about it is you're going to have like your impressions. So are my keywords getting traffic? Am I getting eyeballs on my traffic? Then I'm going to look at clicks. Am I getting any volume of the clicks? So when somebody sees on it, when somebody clicks on it, and then orders when somebody purchases it. Now, the numbers in between those numbers that you can look at are going to be things like, so from impressions to clicks, what I'm looking at is that transition point, which is my click-through rate. And then from those clicks to orders, I'm looking at the transition point of my conversion rate. So what I want to look at is at what point in the shopper funnel am I seeing issues? And then when I figure out where those issues are, then you can deep dive and figure out, okay, so where are those issues? So a question that I would look at is if you're getting impressions, great. Like, what does the click-through rate look like? If you're seeing click-through rates decrease, then you want to figure out, once you figure out where the breakdown is of the funnel, maybe it's on like the order side, then I want to know when that is good, where is that traffic specifically? Which keyword, which search term specifically has that good performance? And so what I would look at is the date ranges. Okay, so I know I made a lot of sales on last Monday. That's where the funnel was working, where I had orders. So then what I want to do is go and look at that date range and say, okay, for this last Monday, when I got those orders, where did they come from? What keyword, what search term, what campaign? And so what you want to do is you want to juxtapose what is working and then say, okay, that was the keyword that was working. When I go in and I juxtapose that versus this past Tuesday when I got no orders, what is the difference here? Again, from the lens of the funnel. So I will go, okay, so last Monday I had a bunch of impressions and that led to increases. But like, wait, this last Tuesday I had like no impressions on this main keyword that I was previously making all the orders from. What happened? Okay, it's an impression issue with the funnel. Or maybe I had a lot of impressions, but I didn't get a lot of clicks. Okay, and so you start to sort of piece out, okay, what are the pieces that are broken? And then if it's an impression issue, well, then I say, well, maybe it's a bidding issue. Like, what are the things that impact impressions? If it's a click-through rate issue, what are the things that impact click-through rate? Did all of a sudden my competition lower their price? And all of a sudden I'm not as competitive. In their images, did everyone add coupons? Like, why is my click-through rate going down, right? So you're starting to work through, again, you're segmenting which piece of the funnel is broken, where was it when it was working, or wasn't it when it wasn't working, and then what are the factors that influence that piece of the shopper funnel? That's how I would start thinking through it. All right, more specific questions. Being too aggressive at launch with a lot of high traffic keywords or competing against products with many reviews, can we make Amazon see you as less relevant for those terms? It won't necessarily, they won't gauge the relevancy, but they will look at sort of the impact of or the order velocity. There's been some debate in the space, and to be honest, it's been a hot minute since I looked at it, but there was some debate a little while ago of like, if you had really poor performance at Amazon is going to like hurt you. So it's not going to hurt. It won't really hurt relevance. It will hurt your sales velocity calculations. And then one of the main things that they use to determine who should push up in search is going to be sales velocity. Now, sales velocity is going to be like what's happening right now, and then they also look at what's happening over an extended period of time, because what they don't want to happen is somebody to like jack up their bids for a day and all of a sudden shoot up to page 1, right? That takes time to get there, because what you have to demonstrate to the algorithm is not just, am I selling really good today, but have I sold well over a length of time? So the thing that you would be hurting is that selling well over the length of time, but it won't necessarily be a relevancy issue, because relevancy is gauged by shopper interaction, so that's a factor, But the other thing that's looked at is typical consumer behavior, and which feeds into, like, if we're going to get tactical with it, the categories and the browse tree nodes of individual categories. So whatever, that's why if you've ever seen, like, you switch categories and all of a sudden certain things don't work as well for your product, it has to do with the fact that Amazon associates certain searches with certain categories and subcategories and certain, like, browsing behavior of shoppers. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just sales velocity as far as gauging relevancy. But yes, it would hurt you in terms of, like, they're going to say, like, oh, you don't do well on the specific search. So that would be a factor. Hello, Stephen. Welcome. Hello, Elizabeth. Can you please give an overview of a PPC launch strategy for a coffee pod brand? Helium 10 listing scores are 10, 44 plus reviews, very, very competitive pricing, FBA, etc. So time to PPC. All right. How deep you want to go? Let's go deep. Let's get into it. These are my favorite. We're going to get specific here. Okay. Let's talk about forecasting. Who wants to do forecasting? And I'm talking because I'm trying to find my forecasting sheets for you. Okay. What you want to do. All right, let's pull up product launches. Everybody wants to know about product launches. I'm assuming everybody wants to know about product launches. Let me know. Let's pull it up. Okay. Product launches. This is what you're going to do, Steven. This is a presentation. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about keyword research. We can talk about forecasting for keyword research. We're going to talk about campaign setup. We're going to talk about initial optimizations, and let's go through scaling ads. We're going to speed run it. This is like a 30-minute presentation. I'm going to give it to you in hopefully 5. All right, so your goal on any sort of launch is going to be to find your relevancy. Where does your product fit in the market? I know you said that it is a coffee pod brand. What kind of coffee pods? Do you have decaf coffee pods? Is it a variety pack? Is it, like the coffee I'm drinking is coffee pods. Like, I like dark roast coffee, right? I'm going to be looking for dark roast coffee. Where does your product fit in the market? Coffee, super broad, not relevant. So that's where you have lower relevancy, because you can see the product here, but this is like blanket right here is low relevancy. Baby blanket, there's a wide variety. Swaddles for newborns. High relevancy is muslin swaddle blanket. So you want to know, like, where's the top of the goal for my particular product? Go deep in on this. Once you figure that out, then you're going to do the keyword research portion. And we can talk about forecasting for keyword research in a second. What you're going to do is you are going to find very common here. We're using Junglr Scout and other tools. We use Helium 10. You want to find your top 10 products that are relevant to yours that are ranked on your, what we call our high relevancy term, or we call it our anchor keyword. So you want to first find your anchor keyword, which is the intersection between high relevancy and high search volume. That's your anchor. And then from there, you pull your 10 products, reverse ACE, and search them out of your anchor. And then what you want to do is you want to sort for relevancy, which is how many of these top products are ranked. A lot of people talk about this, so that's why I'm breezing through. If you have any follow-up questions on this, let me know. And then what you want to do, so here's what you want to do. You want to choose 10 highly relevant keywords that have at least 1,000 to 2,000 search volume. Now, you can go a little bit under that in terms of search volume. You can go a little bit less keywords than that if you want to. Think of it like the more keywords you have, the more you're going to spend. The less keywords you have, the less you're going to spend. But the more keywords you have, the more potential you have for orders, and vice versa, okay? So you want to curate that. That's why we talk about forecasting based on your, like, what your goals, your budget, and your order goals. And then once you have that, you're going to launch these. Again, I'm breezing through. I'm not going to take up 30 minutes of your time with this. Maybe I'll release this at some point. But you're going to set up a single keyword exact match campaign. You want to choose fixed bidding strategy. And then you're going to use your suggested bid plus 20 to 50 cents above the suggested bid. These are all single keyword campaigns. Now, your budget, you can start it at somewhere between $10 or $15. If you're saying this is a really competitive category, Steven, then you're probably looking at you might want to go a little bit over the budget. The goal is to be able to get enough clicks to validate these keywords. So old school launch strategy is put a bunch of stuff out there, throw a bunch of crap at the wall, see what sticks, try and figure it out, maybe figure out something directionally from there, and then optimize. This is the opposite of this, polar opposite. Here's how it works. You have 10 strategic tests you are doing. They are super specific, they are hyper targeted, and they are aggressive. What you do from there is you figure out, here's the optimizations. This is stuff nobody talks about. Everybody talks about launching campaigns. Nobody talks about how to actually do it. So here's what you do in terms of your bids. What you're going to do is you're going to check and adjust your bids twice a day. It's aggressive. It's intense. If you want the results, put in the work. What you're going to do is you're going to check for impressions. Think of it like the funnel I was talking about before. You get impressions, then you get clicks, then you get orders. We need impressions to validate if these keywords work. As soon as we go through and we're validating, as soon as we're getting those impressions, then we can pull off of getting so aggressive on our bids. And then our question is, are we getting clicks and are we getting orders? Because remember, we have 10 strategic tests we're doing. So from those strategic tests, some are going to work, some are not going to work. Some you're going to get orders from, some you're not going to get orders from. And that's okay. That's why we're running this test. So again, before throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, kind of try and figure it out. Here we're saying 10 strategic tests, run them hyper aggressive. We're probably doing this for a couple weeks, depending on feedback. Then once we know where we're going directionally, because we go, okay, this keyword works, that keyword doesn't work, we're getting rid of it, right? Then we're starting to refine and we're figuring out what works, but we haven't uncapped our budgets. Once you know, remember the budget started lower, once you know which of these keywords work and you already have the bids that are aggressive enough to push the impressions you need to generate orders, then you start uncapping budgets. We don't go crazy, we go $5 to $20 increments depending on the performance of it, but then we can say, all right, this is the 5 out of the 10 that work, this is the 3 out of the 10 that work, this is the 8 out of the 10 that work. Now we can go hard because we know what works for our product. So we're validating the product and we're getting a lot of data feedback directionally where our shoppers are purchasing right out of the gate. We're hitting it hard. Then after you do that, then you can start launching your scaling campaigns. So your scaling campaigns are going to be your product targeting, your broad match campaigns. These are all based off of what we found in the first step. So again, we're not throwing crap at the wall. We have a direction. We know that these 5 keywords convert for us. These 4 keywords convert for us. These 8 keywords convert for us, however many that is. And then what we're doing is we're saying, okay, now let's target the top 1 to 5 organically ranked ASINs only on the validated keywords. Let's launch a single keyword broad match campaign only on the validated keywords. And again, we're putting low bids here. Now let's launch the low bid autos because we've already pushed ourselves into the market. We already know where we convert. So that's the strategy. Now, in terms of, let me see if I can find, stop sharing here. I wanted to see if I can find you our forecasting data for, there we go. I want to see if we can find our forecasting sheet for the keywords. Because so basically what you want to do in terms of forecasting, can I not find it? It's driving me up a lot. Here we go. No, is this it? I think this is it. I have a lot of research. Okay, here we go. So what you want to do in terms of forecasting to figure it out, you're going to have your keywords, your search volume, your word count. That doesn't really matter. What matters is your target daily orders. So a lot of your tools will give you like how many orders on average you need to rank. Then you're going to be looking at your suggested bids and your max bids. From there, you're going to estimate your cost per click, and then you are going to have to estimate your product conversion rate. So I would be pessimistic here, and you're also going to estimate your product price. Once you have all this data, then what you can say is, okay, to run on all of these keywords and to try and rank here, you can say there's quite a few keywords. I'm going to need about $1,500 a day to run on these if I want to try and make this target orders. Now, my cost per click, my conversion rate results may vary, right? But at least directly, I know that's pretty expensive. So what I can start to do is say, okay, this keyword daily budget is $100 something. Well, let's get rid of that. Okay, that brought that down. These two are really expensive. So you could start to like curate your list, and then you could say, oh wow, these two keywords are going to drive 10 and 11% of total budget. That's pretty steep. Okay, so now we got ourselves down to like 800 some change a day. I can live with that, right? So that's what you want to look at. Your cost for the keyword is going to be determined by two things. One, the average cost per clicks in your market, and then two, your expected conversion rate for the products. Because you can do 1 divided by your expected conversion rate. That's how many clicks on average does it take me to generate one order. And then I can say, okay, it takes me 5 clicks on average, and I'm paying $1 a click, so that's $5. And I think to rank on this keyword, I'm gonna have to get at least 5 orders a day. So that's $5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. It's gonna take me $25 daily budget just to have this one keyword. Now, again, what your actual conversion rates are, what the actual cost per clicks of the product will be, will depend. What is it? I'm not showing this. Here's the resource. Okay, I put this out as a free resource. If you want a copy of this, message me on whatever platform you're watching it on. But basically what I was saying, you're going to have your target daily orders. How many orders does it take? Do I think I need? What is my average cost per click? And then what is my expected average conversion rate? You can customize the conversion rate of each individual one. So you think I'm going to convert worse on this one, and I think I'm going to do better on this one. Again, results may vary, but that will actually change. So if you know your CPC, average conversion rate, you can say, all right, this is how much on average it's going to take me to spend on this one keyword. And then from there, you start to build out your forecast and say, okay, this is what I can afford to do in the market. This is what I can't. Do keep in mind that depending on the search volume, right? If you can push into places in the market with more search volume, you're going to have more sales potential and vice versa. So everything is a game of pros and cons. It's what can I afford? What do I expect in terms of sales? And then you sort of live in the gap between those two things. And that's how you build your ad strategy. That was in depth, Steven. Hopefully that was helpful. So yeah, you're saying you don't want to destroy my working capital with PPC spends. Let me share with you. You guys can make a copy of this. Give me a second. Steven, I'll drop it in the chat. You can make a copy, or if anyone's on LinkedIn or anywhere else, they're not getting a copy, let me know. I will let you guys see that. Okay. Drew, assuming the brand store is set up properly and all the products are in the store, do you find that running sponsored brand ads to the store converts better than sending to the listing instead? Typically speaking, the listing will convert better. However, we've been running some tests here. This has been really interesting. So I haven't put it out yet. Keep on top of our YouTube channel because when I get it, it's like being edited right now. It will come out. I have a sheet that will allow you to check your landing pages, your ad types, and also help you analyze your creatives because no one does really good analysis of sponsored brand creatives is what I found. Everyone talks about what's good. Nobody really knows. And so we've been doing this analysis for ourselves. And what we found is that directing it straight to a product page tends to convert the best. Now, the only way you can direct sponsored brand ads to a product page is with a video. So you have to be running video ads to be able to do that. However, if you direct to a store page, and what we have found is that curated sub pages work better than home pages, typically speaking. You can actually, depends on the product. Really depends on the product. But actually what we've seen is that if you direct to a store page, you tend to increase, even if it's just marginally, the units per order. So instead of just purchasing one, sometimes they find a couple things they like and they'll purchase more. It really is dependent on your brand and your category. So again, I would keep an eye on the YouTube channel, but hopefully that was helpful. But good question though. All right, you have 2 videos I want to test for sponsored brand ads. What is the best way to find out which one performs better? 2 different campaigns at the same time or 1 campaign with 2 ad groups? I used to say one campaign, 2 ad groups, because that's how Amazon recommends it. But with the new tool that we're using, I would actually recommend running them in separate campaigns. And then you can look at the performance of both of those campaigns is what I would do. What is the best strategy for launching a new product? Want to know from ad part of it. So I just went over that on the product launch. Just went over that on the product launch strategy. So start to finish, it's pick a bunch of keywords. The goal is relevancy and conversions. That's what you're looking for. I've been on the rabbit hole, I've read all the white papers. I've been like, how do we dissect the ad algorithm and the search algorithm? Basically what you walk away from is it's about relevancy and it's about conversions. So if you get a lot of freaking orders and you can prove to Amazon that you're relevant, you will do well. So the launch strategy is all based around doing that. So what we do is we go hyper-targeted with our keyword research. We want to find search volume so we can get enough order velocity, and we want to find relevancy to the products. Then we pick about somewhere between 8 to 15 keywords. 10 tends to be a good sweet spot, again, because of cost, but you go more or less depending on cost in your space. And then what you want to do is you want to launch these all in single keyword exact match campaigns. From there, what you're going to do is you're going to go really aggressive with your bids. You're going to cap your budget so you can go aggressive with bids. A lot of people in our space talk about never cap budgets, always keep it. That's bull crap. I'm sorry. If you want, budgets are a fantastic spend control level if you know how to use them. If I was just going to tell you like uncap, like if I was just going to tell you like, oh, just keep budgets low and like I didn't give you a strategic way to increase them, then yes, that could be a problem. But if you're doing it strategically, what it allows you to do is go super aggressive on your bids without not completely blowing up your ad spend. So what you're going to do is you are going to push your bids so you can make sure you gain impressions. Goal out of the gate, let me get back to that slide. Goal is going to be impressions because you're going to look at it from a funnel. So you got to push bids so you can get impressions. From there, you'll start validating, which are clicks and orders. So our goal is which of these keywords are getting clicks and orders, which one are not. And then you're going to start turning up the budgets of the ones that are generating orders, turning off or down the stuff that is not generating orders. And then from there, you can be like, all right, so this is the segment of the market that works well for my product. And you just double, triple, quadruple down from there. Steven's saying rather fast. I know. I'm sorry, Steven. I'm trying not to take up the full 30 minutes with launch strategy. Although if people keep asking, I'll keep pulling up these slides. Because hopefully you guys find it valuable. Then maybe at some point, this whole presentation I did with Jungle Scout. So keep an eye out for that. I believe it's coming out in March, but you can hear all of this A to Z on those things. So I did share the sheet in the links. However, you are listening in from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is stupid and it won't let me share things in the comments. So reach out to me. Reach out to me via messages and I will make sure to get you a link to that sheet. What are your thoughts on setting budget limits for accounts and portfolios? Does this mean the keywords complete for the budget at the account level before even facing competition on Amazon? Is that something you've experienced? They don't kind of technically compete for the budget. It will just be like when something uses the budget or when it doesn't. What typically happens is the things that like already generate a lot of impressions and clicks tend to just like eat up the budget. So you won't have like long tail stuff. What we found is that you need some level of budget control because of profitability. Now, when it comes to like ad performance, if we could just completely uncap everything and just say like, hey, like we'll just control everything at the bid level. Let's not worry about budgets. Let's not cap everything. That would be fantastic from an ads perspective. The thing is that we're running ads for businesses. Businesses don't have unlimited cash flow. and they don't have unlimited ad spend. And so you really have to make sure it makes sense. So whenever you have to get really restrictive with budgets due to like business goals, or sometimes there's enterprise and they're like, we've overshot our spend goals in Q1, so like we're just going to cut our budgets in half in Q4. They have the cash flow to do it. Honestly, it makes no dang sense, but they tend to set annual budgets, so you have to be really good about budget pacing in those types of accounts. But in other accounts, it's like, hey, we have this much cash flow, and if we go over it, we're not going to have money to pay our vendors. So therefore, we need a hard stop. And so for that reason, hard stops and budgets, while yes, I agree with my ad agency friends that like in an ideal world, we wouldn't do that. You know, in an ideal ad world, ad management world. But in the real world with businesses and businesses that rely on profitability for cash flow, it's really important. And so for that reason, I would do it strategically and I would understand what you're giving up. What you are giving up when budgets run out is you're giving up in visibility, and you're giving up on this first piece of the funnel, which is your impressions. So you have to figure out, like, am I okay with giving up on those impressions? Like, what is the ramifications of doing that if I cap the budgets? And so we typically cap, the way portfolio budgets work is it's a monthly budget. So you put it in and it says like, oh, we are willing to spend this throughout the month. And it's not, what we found is it's not really good at budget pacing, because sometimes your entire budget gets spent in the beginning of the month. And so portfolio budgets, I wish they had daily portfolio budgets. I'm gonna have to recheck that because it's been a hot minute. But last time I checked, they don't have daily portfolio budgets. If and when we get daily portfolio budgets, we will use the heck out of them. Right now we don't. Although we've talked about building a API tool that will allow us to do that. Maybe we'll do that at some point. So yeah, they don't like, it's not like Amazon goes, oh, this one competes with this one. Yeah, it will pull from the budget and it will completely run out. So the other thing we have done when we set budget limits is we will set it like a little bit higher, like what a bit higher than what we spend on average. Because what happens is, like, what happens when something pops off, right? What happens when all of a sudden traffic flows or a whole bunch of clicks start to happen, or like all of a sudden things just go crazy, right? Well, if your budget's uncapped, you will spend that much. So oftentimes what we'll do is we'll set sort of like a fail safe, which is much higher than we spend on average. So we shouldn't be hurting anything with the account, but it gives us that sense of control where stuff's just not going to like double, triple overnight without some sort of stop to it. So that's another way that we would leverage budgets. Yes, this is a difficult one. Did you ever find yourself in a situation where you tried so hard, but at the end you didn't even rank? Higher than, say, position 20 organically, getting direct external traffic from other sources than this ASIN with specific keywords in the link might help with that. Yeah, so what you're talking about is, I think those specific, be careful with those URLs where you embed a keyword in them, because Amazon got kind of mad about that, depending on, they see it as gaming the system, so just FYI, proceed with caution. And yes, we have. So there's a multitude of things that go into ranking. Some of them is going to be SEO. So you want to look at SEO of the, sorry, this is my reminder. I'm going to have to hop in a little bit. So you want to be really aware of that, and also your conversion rate and your click-through rate on that specific keyword and how it compares to the market. So a lot of times that extra boost on your ranking may or may not be a advertising push. It might be a listing optimization thing, because if you can increase your, like, get better SEO, get better main images, increase the conversion rates of your products, which by the way, if anybody wants a phenomenal feedback on your listings and how you can improve, my good friend John Aspinall just announced today on LinkedIn that he actually is offering coaching sessions. I would hop on that. I would hop on it so fast. He's insanely undervaluing it. We purchased one to do along with the client, and like holy crap, I knew he was good, but like I wasn't on that call and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like everything you could want to know about improving your listing times 10. Trust me, it is so worth it. So if you want a listing and you can afford it, like you will increase your sales so much if you just follow his instructions. So I would totally recommend doing it. The other thing that we've seen, and sorry, getting back to the ad side, is and sometimes you can do product targeting, and that will now product targeting in and of itself is not going to increase, like that's not going to be enough to increase your ranking. However, if you add in product targeting to what you're already doing, then oftentimes you can increase the rankings. So here's what we do. So on the keywords you want to rank on, what we do is we find the top 1 to 5 organically ranked products on that keyword we're trying to go after. And then what we'll do is we'll target them aggressively and exact match product targeting instead of a sponsored product ad. And that sort of push actually has helped us increase ranking for some of our products that have been stuck for a little while. Also, it depends on, are you getting, are you like restricting your bids? Are you getting less aggressive because of profitability? Because it could just be that you aren't willing to push the ads enough to get the order velocity. So sometimes you got to give up on profitability for certain keywords where you're struggling. Yeah, so this is a good call out. Is that note for the hard stop on daily budgets? Yeah, so this is you set an account level cap. That doesn't apply to your sponsored display and your sponsored brand campaigns. So it's only going to cap your sponsored product ads. So depending on how much spend you have in those other campaigns, or in those other ad types, you might end up overshooting budgets anyways for that. All right. So question: Castello Brand Italian coffee, 6 varieties of espresso, sells 50 cents order per month. How do we have to ad spend to say 300 per month? Approximate is good. We have lots of other brands as well. So what you would want to do is look at the cost per click. Now you're gonna have to play with this. This is not an exact science because order velocity volumes, you can't really be certain of what you're gonna get. This is like a forecast for a test. So what I would look at is at the search volume and then just say, okay, how many clicks, like what would be my click-through rate if I showed up for every single one of these searches? So in a search volume, let's do the math, in a search volume of however much this is, if I could multiply it, say I could get let's get 0.5%, then I feel like I could get this many clicks if I had a 0.5% click-through rate, which is like half of a point in terms of click-through rate. So I feel like I could get that many clicks. And then if my average conversion rate is say we did 10% on that, 10%, then you say this many clicks times 10%. I feel like I can get 186 orders. Now, not everything is going to work out to be exactly like that. So you gotta, again, you're going to have to play around with it. Or if you say, okay, maybe in terms of this search volume, you can look at your search term impression share. So you're like, okay, this is my impression share. I'm ranked like impressions number like 5. I'm not getting a large amount of impressions. So this is how much more impressions I could possibly get. So in that case, you're going to have to raise your bid to do that. And then you can say, okay, so if I can get more impressions, then how many clicks does that translate to? How many orders does that translate to? And then what did those mathematics work out to be? So it's really a matter of picking the keywords that have the velocity to do the volumes that you want, and then calculating how much spend it's going to take to do those volumes. And between the answers to those two questions, then you can factor out like your profitability metrics and then say, all right, does it make sense? Does it make sense for you to do that? And Steven, it sounds like you have a lot of brands as well. So yeah, if anyone's maybe I can make some sort of forecast sheet or something. That's something I've been working on like internally and we're doing for several of our brands, is like a, sort of a ad hoc analysis of like the category, what we think is possible, what kind of the volumes look like, what do the cost structures look like, and really just seeing like, okay, what are our forecasts? And then you sort of have to plug in your actuals and then say like, all right, where do we feel like we can go from here? It is a game. So the entire game of Amazon advertising is like hypothesis, forecast, test, plug in new numbers, hypothesis, test, plug. It's like, it is a constant revolving test and see and get feedback and go from there. So does sponsored brand ads helped organic ranking? Maybe and minimally, but what we found is that it doesn't have as much impact as sponsored product ads, by far. Not as much impact. So you're going to get much more bang for your buck in terms of ranking if you go more aggressive than your sponsored product ads versus your sponsored brand ads. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. I don't think there's any more questions in the chat, although we've discussed a lot today, a lot of stuff to go through. Hopefully this has been helpful. I know we got on the weeds. I know we did a lot of screen share. That's my favorite. So feedback on that. Let me know how it went. Let me know if you guys like it. Thumbs ups and comments are welcome. So a quick recap of this. If this is your first time, we would love to have you back. So we do this every single Thursday. Same time, same place. Show up, ask your Amazon ad questions in the chat. We'll get you answers to that. And if this has been really helpful and you're like, I keep doing this, but I don't really want to keep doing this myself, we would be more than happy to see if it makes sense to work together. So you can go to our website, junglr.com. You can get an Amazon ad audit, talk with me personally. We'll go through your ads. We'll see what we think we can do and see if it makes sense to work together. So with that, I really appreciate it. I'm going to hop to my next live, so feel free to join me over there. It's going to be in conjunction with my Amazon guy. We're going to do another hour. It's going to be a roundtable. It's going to be fun. But with that, I will see you all in the next one. And thanks so much, guys. I will catch you next week.
And that wraps up this episode of the Ask Junglr Amazon Advertising Podcast. I hope you found these insights and strategies helpful in your Amazon PPC journey. Remember, if you have a burning Amazon ad question that you'd like answers to, head over to junglr.com/live to join our next live Q&A session. Until next time, keep optimizing those ads and stay hungry.